Welcome back to Real Crime Stories, the podcast where we bring you crime stories from around the world. It was a quiet evening in Riverside, California, the kind of night that passed unnoticed in a peaceful neighborhood. Justin Hilbert kissed his son goodnight, said goodbye to his partner, Tanya, and stepped out the door. What he didn't know was that something was already waiting for him outside, a plan set in motion that would end his life in the blink of an eye. When hours passed and Justin failed to return home, Tanya's concern quickly turned into fear. The only sign she received was a message sent from Justin's phone, just 2 chilling words: "It's over." To understand how events led to this moment, it's essential to examine the individuals involved. Tanya Rep was born in the mid-1980s in California and raised in a stable, hard-working household. From an early age, she showed independence, responsibility, and a strong desire to build a life of her own. She pursued a career in logistics, earning a reputation for her organizational skills and reliability. Those who knew her believed she had a bright future ahead. In the 2000s, Tanya met Jared Bischoff, a former U.S. Marine. At first, Jared appeared to be the ideal partner, mature, dependable, and strong. Their relationship moved quickly, and they soon married, but over time, cracks began to form. Tensions grew, power struggles became common, and Jared's behavior turned increasingly controlling and aggressive. His jealousy and emotional manipulation took a heavy toll, eventually escalating into physical aggression. Refusing to accept the abuse, Tanya began quietly gathering evidence in preparation for divorce. The process was long and painful, and Jared was unwilling to let go. Even after the marriage ended, his need for control persisted. Though he claimed to accept the separation, he could not tolerate the idea of Tanya moving on. When she began seeing someone else, his behavior intensified. He appeared near her home, monitored her movements, and made threats in an effort to maintain influence over her life. That new partner was Justin Hilbert. Born in 1988 and raised in Riverside, Justin lived a quiet, steady life. After working various side jobs, he found stability maintaining industrial equipment. He was calm, reserved, and avoided conflict, wanting nothing more than a simple and secure future. In early 2015, he met Tanya, who was still recovering from her turbulent marriage. Their connection developed naturally. Justin never pressured her. Instead, he offered steady support and patience. Over time, their bond deepened. When Tanya discovered she was pregnant, Justin didn't hesitate. He embraced the news with quiet resolve, and the couple began building a life together. In early 2016, their son Logan was born. Justin immediately stepped into fatherhood, learning every aspect of caring for his child, from late-night feedings to diaper changes, fully committed to his new role. Another figure in this story was Bailey Sharp. Born in the early 1990s in Seattle, Bailey came from a law enforcement family and showed promise early in life. But as a teenager, her world changed when she was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and lupus. Chronic pain, medical limitations, and declining mental health pushed her down a difficult path. She began using marijuana, then prescription painkillers, and eventually stronger substances. Despite multiple attempts at recovery, including rehab stays, her struggles continued. Seeking a fresh start, Bailey moved to California. By 2015, her family relationships had deteriorated. She lacked stable housing, and steady work was hard to find. It was during this vulnerable period that she met Jared Bischoff. His involvement in her life wasn't driven by romance, but by control. He recognized her instability and used it to manipulate and dominate her. On June 20th, 2016, everything changed. It was an ordinary day in Riverside. Tanya, Justin, and their 6-month-old son spent the day together, talking about the week ahead and enjoying their time as a family.
But that sense of normalcy was shattered when Tanya received a strange message from a woman she didn't know, Bailey Sharp. The message accused Justin of living a double life and hiding the truth, and from that moment on, nothing would ever be the same. Tanya showed Justin the message, and he immediately dismissed it as false. Calm but firm, he assured her someone was trying to create trouble between them. Justin told Tanya he loved her, insisted he had nothing to hide, and promised to find out who was behind the accusation. Later that evening, Justin left the house. It wasn't unusual for him to run errands or pick up tools, so Tanya didn't think much of it. But as the hours passed and he still hadn't returned, her concern began to grow. She called and texted him repeatedly, but there was no response. By midnight, his phone was turned off. Tanya stayed awake, hoping to hear from him, but the night passed in silence. On the morning of June 21st, 2016, Tanya received a text message from Justin's phone. It was short, impersonal, and unsettling. "Don't wait. It's over." There was no explanation, no warmth, nothing that resembled the way Justin normally communicated. Tanya immediately sensed that something was wrong. She contacted Justin's mother and sister, hoping someone had heard from him, but no one had. It quickly became clear that Justin was missing. Around the same time, Riverside County authorities received a call from a motorcyclist traveling along a rural road near Lake Matthews. He had spotted a body lying face up on the shoulder of the road, clothes soaked in blood. There were no visible signs of a struggle at the scene. The medical examiner later confirmed the victim was Justin Hilbert. He had died from a gunshot wound to the head, but examination revealed multiple knife wounds inflicted before the fatal shot. Evidence suggested Justin had been attacked at another location and then transported to where his body was found. Investigators believed the crime had occurred the night before. After identifying Justin, officers went to the home he shared with Tanya. She confirmed that he had left around 9 p.m. and never returned. His dark blue sedan was also missing and immediately entered into the National Missing Vehicle database. As the investigation continued, detectives noted that several of Justin's personal items were gone, including his phone, work badge, and wallet, items he never left behind. This suggested someone had deliberately tried to erase his trail. However, fibers and microparticles found on his body pointed to a different crime scene, confirming he had been moved after his death. Interviews with Justin's friends and co-workers produced no clear leads. Everyone described him as calm, non-confrontational, and free of financial or legal troubles. There appeared to be no obvious motive for his murder. The case shifted when investigators reviewed Tanya's recent messages. One name stood out: Bailey Sharp. Bailey had contacted Tanya just before Justin disappeared. A background check revealed she had no permanent address, a criminal history involving illegal substances, and a pattern of instability. Authorities focused on Bailey as a key lead. They discovered she had no steady job, no vehicle, no driver's license, and no insurance. The only direct link was the phone number she used to contact Tanya. Records from the phone carrier showed the SIM card was registered under another name and used inconsistently. Further analysis revealed frequent contact between that number and Jared Bischoff, Tanya's ex-husband. While this didn't immediately prove coordination between Bailey and Jared, it raised serious concerns. Investigators began quietly tracking both of them. Reports from social workers placed Bailey in parking lots and bars with various men, though their identities remained unclear. Digital evidence soon strengthened the connection. The IP address used to access Bailey's social media accounts matched one used to log into an account associated with Jared Bischoff. While investigators couldn't immediately determine whether Jared knew about the messages sent from Bailey's phone, the evidence increasingly pointed to a coordinated effort. Surveillance continued without alerting either suspect. Then investigators uncovered the most disturbing detail of all. The message Tanya received from Justin's phone that morning had not been sent by Justin. By that time, Justin was already dead. His phone was in Bailey Sharp's possession. She had deliberately sent the message to delay concern and buy time before authorities were contacted. When police intensified their search for Bailey, she vanished. Her phone was turned off, and there was no activity on her social media accounts or messaging accounts. The only remaining lead came from surveillance footage captured at a local pharmacy.
On the evening of June 22, roughly 24 hours after Justin's body was discovered, Bailey Sharp was captured on surveillance footage. She was alone, wearing a medical mask and a hooded sweatshirt. Inside a pharmacy, she purchased pain relievers and bottled water. When she paid at the counter, she presented an identification card that did not match her own name. The clerk later recalled a few details, but the cameras documented everything. After that sighting, Bailey disappeared once again. As a result, Bailey was officially declared a wanted person. An alert was quickly distributed to local law enforcement agencies, and her photograph, known aliases, physical description, and known connections were entered into police databases. As investigators dug deeper, a pattern began to emerge. In the weeks leading up to Justin's death, Bailey had been seen multiple times in southern Riverside County, particularly near a remote residential complex. Surveillance footage from the area showed her vehicle appearing repeatedly, often followed by another car registered to a man. At the time, authorities had not released the owner's name, but it was becoming increasingly clear that Bailey was either aware she was being sought by police or was receiving help to remain hidden. A larger question remained. If Bailey was only a pawn, who was truly behind the plan? That answer began to take shape on the morning of June 24, when the Department of Motor Vehicles responded to an inquiry about the second vehicle frequently seen near Bailey. The car was registered to Jared Bischoff, Tanya's ex-husband. Until that point, investigators had no concrete reason to suspect Jared's involvement, but the appearance of his vehicle near the primary suspect marked a major turning point in the case. After his divorce from Tanya, Jared had briefly stayed with relatives before moving on. According to Tanya's close friends, communication between the former couple had ceased following repeated arguments, controlling behavior, and emotional tension. Tanya believed Jared was dangerous, though no formal police reports had ever been filed. Investigators also learned that Tanya had once considered installing a security system because she feared her ex-husband. After the separation, Jared largely vanished from view. No one could say for certain where he was living or who he was associating with until Bailey reappeared. Authorities confirmed that Bailey had been frequenting southern Riverside for weeks before Justin's murder. Surveillance footage showed her with a man whose face was partially obscured but strongly resembled Jared. That connection was soon confirmed. With this new information, police obtained a warrant to search an apartment Jared appeared to be using based on mobile phone activity. The unit was rented under a false name. Inside, investigators found a chaotic scene: leftover food, Bailey's clothing, a backpack, and a knife wrapped in a t-shirt. Forensic testing later confirmed that the blade contained Justin Hilbert's blood. Jared, however, was gone. Witnesses reported seeing him shortly before the discovery of the body, sometimes alone, sometimes with a woman resembling Bailey. After that, both suspects vanished. With warrants now issued for their arrests, investigators widened the search, examining bank activity, phone records, and traffic camera footage. During the process, a bartender named Ricky came forward. He remembered Bailey clearly and recalled that she had been accompanied by a man who appeared tall, quiet, and carried himself with a rigid posture. At the time, Ricky hadn't known the man's identity,
but when shown a photograph of Jared Bischoff, he immediately recognized him. Ricky also recalled overhearing fragments of their conversation, including statements like, "She ruined everything," and "He won't be around much longer." The remarks suggested a motive. Investigators now believed Jared wanted Justin removed to regain control over Tanya. It appeared that Tanya may have been the original target, but Justin's presence changed the plan entirely. Using Bailey, Jared had orchestrated a setup. Bailey sent misleading messages to Tanya, accusing Justin of infidelity in an attempt to create doubt and conflict. The goal was to drive a wedge between them and possibly push Justin out of Tanya's life. On the evening of June 20, after receiving those messages, Justin left the house. He was lured into what he believed would be a manageable confrontation, unaware he was walking into a trap. No one would ever see him alive again. Days later, investigators located Justin's dark blue sedan abandoned along a remote roadside. Inside the vehicle, they found bloodstains on the seat and a partial fingerprint on the exterior, further confirming that violence had occurred. Each discovery raised even more questions. The investigation took another critical turn when authorities linked a subsequent analysis to Danny Serrano, a man with prior convictions for assault and theft. At the time, investigators turned their attention to Danny Serrano, who was already in custody on an unrelated charge. However, records confirmed that during Justin's disappearance, Danny was still free. Detectives interviewed him at the detention center, but his statements were inconsistent. He denied any involvement, yet his answers raised immediate suspicions. Investigators brought Danny's photograph to Ricky, the bartender who had previously seen Bailey Sharp with a man at his bar. When he saw the image, he immediately recognized Danny. He recalled that Bailey had been accompanied by a man who appeared nervous and edgy. Danny hadn't been drinking much, had changed clothes in the restroom, and had thrown something into the trash. Before leaving, Danny reportedly made a chilling comment to Ricky. "You didn't see anything. That's why you're still breathing." At the time, Ricky dismissed it as a joke, but in hindsight, he realized he had crossed paths with someone directly connected to the case. His account strengthened investigators' suspicions. Evidence soon confirmed that there had been a third person involved. Justin's phone was discovered in a dumpster near the location where his car had been abandoned. Although the device was damaged, forensic specialists were able to recover call logs and text messages. The data showed that in the final hours of Justin's life, he received multiple messages from Bailey's phone, followed by a call that prompted him to leave home. This helped investigators reconstruct the chain of events leading to his murder. Attention then shifted out of state. Investigators learned that in early July, a man and woman matching the descriptions of Jared Bischoff and Bailey Sharp stayed at a small motel in Arizona. The motel manager recalled that the pair were quiet, paid in cash, and requested not to be disturbed. After they checked out, the staff noticed that the shower had been scrubbed extensively. Despite this, forensic testing later revealed micro traces of blood in the drain. On July 23rd, in a remote desert area near an abandoned hangar, a woman's body was discovered. She was later identified as Bailey Sharp. The cause of death was multiple stab wounds. No ID, phone, or personal belongings were found with her. Nearby, investigators recovered a plastic bag bearing Jared Bischoff's fingerprints. The evidence made it clear that after leaving the motel, Bailey had been killed. Authorities concluded that Jared had eliminated her to prevent her from becoming a liability. With mounting evidence, investigators now believed Jared was responsible for both murders. In the spring of 2017, the case went to trial. Jared Bischoff faced charges including first-degree murder in the death of Justin Hilbert, the murder of Bailey Sharp, conspiracy, and destruction of evidence. The jury found him guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. His attorney declined to file an appeal. According to Danny's testimony, Jared had originally planned to target both Tanya and Justin. However, the plan changed. Jared reportedly said that death would have been too quick for his ex-wife. Instead, he wanted Tanya to live with the pain, raising her child alone while carrying the weight of what he had taken from her. Thank you for listening to Real Crime Stories. Share your thoughts on the story, like and subscribe to the channel. Until the next episode, stay vigilant.